Hello, and welcome to my February TBR. Are we halfway through the month? Yes. Is this ambitious for the second half of the month? Also, yes. I don't know what happened. I felt like January had like 85 days in it, and suddenly the first part of February has flown by. So time doesn't make sense in my brain. I don't know how that happened. I don't know where the time went, but I wanted to tell you about these books. I feel like I didn't do one of these videos in January. Oh, it's because I did it on my main channel instead. I missed you guys. You know, this is our thing. So how have you been? How's the job? How are the kids? I hope you're good. Let's talk about this. Should we just have a moment of silence to appreciate that there is a new Ocean Vuong book in the world? This comes out in May, and Ocean very, very kindly sent me a copy. Well, let me just tell you, the scream I scrum when I got a DM from the Ocean Vuong being like, can I send you a copy of my new book? I was like, I will literally swim to you. I will swim across the Atlantic in order to pick it up. And I have to say, I have read 73 pages of it. Oh, I think it's gonna be a 5-star. I think it's gonna be a 5-star. It's so gorgeously written. Even from the first line, it's like, I want to get it right and do it justice, but the first line is, the hardest thing in the world is to live only once, but it's beautiful here. Even the ghosts agree. Oh, it's just so lovely right from the moment you start. It's called The Emperor of Gladness. The book opens with this guy who is standing on the edge of a bridge thinking about throwing himself off into the water below, and a lady is putting out her laundry, and because she kind of shouts out as her sheets start to blow away, it catches his attention, and it's essentially the reason that he doesn't jump, and she makes him come down, and they end up forming this bond. He ends up living with her and getting a job at a local store, and it's about like the kindness that we can give each other. It's about loss, it's about hope, it's about getting a second chance. You know, I feel like both of these characters, in fact, every character really in the book is trying to have a second go at things. And I always say this, but I love a book that feels like an exercise in empathy, a book that takes you on a journey with characters and you understand that they have made mistakes and they are flawed, but you understand why they come to the conclusions that they do and what has happened in their life to sort of lead them to that point. So I'm really enjoying this so far. It's funny too. It's like, it's very witty, but also Ocean Vuong has this unique power to just deliver an absolute sucker punch of a line just like midway through a paragraph where you're like, ooh, that's one of the most profound things I've ever read. And you just drop those. You just sprinkle those in every now and then. Not even a build up, not even like, we don't even get to stretch our minds out a bit first. You just like smack me around the face with it. Like it's so beautiful. You can see how much I've already kind of been underlining as I've been reading through, but wow, we are in for a treat. We are so lucky to be living at the same time that Ocean Vuong is making art. Holy hell. This book is very high up on my 2025 TBR, and that's why I'm getting around to it as early as possible in February, because it sounds absolutely sublime. So a poet's life is turned inside out by a sudden wrenching pain. The pain brings him to his knees and eventually to the ICU. Confined to bed, plunged into a dysfunctional healthcare system, he struggles to understand what is happening to his body as someone who has lived many years in his mind. Small Rain is a searching, sweeping novel set at the furthest edges of human experience, a place where the forces that give life value, poetry, music, memory, and care are thrown into sharp relief. It encompasses a radiant vision of human life, our shared vulnerability, the limits and possibilities of sympathy, the ideal of art, and the fragile dream of America. Above all, it is a love story of the most unexpected kind. I heard that this book is just so full of kind of compassion. It was on a lot of lists of like the best books of 2024 by people who I really admire and have taken a lot of recommendations from. Oh my gosh, last month, I remember reading in the New York Times list of like most notable books of the year. I also bought Art Evenings because of that, and also the book Rejection, and those books were unbelievably good, like out of this world. I'm gonna post full reviews soon because they deserve their own videos. That's how brilliant they are. I'm gonna be talking about those books for a very long time. You know how I get when I really love a piece of art. I will talk about it until the cows come home. Like those two books I'm gonna be ranting and raving about for a very, very long time. For this to be ranked alongside those in that same list by those same people gives me very high hopes for Garth Greenwell's novel, a marvelous book, exceptionally vivid, real and true. So I want to start it right now. Next, we have Bad Habits. This was recommended by Dua Lipa in her Service 95 book club. It's by Alana S. Portero and translated by Mara Faye Letham. An international bestseller, and I think that it's really, really important right now that we uplift and celebrate trans voices and trans art while their rights are being put at risk by the most horrendous people in the world. You know, if there were ever a time to go out and make sure you have read trans voices and that you have supported trans artists, now is the time. I know that this is a book about the trans experience, but also about class. I'm going to read you the blurb just to make sure I do it justice. An unnamed trans woman grows up in a working class suburb that has no place for her. She discovers community and kinship in downtown Madrid amid a dazzling party scene animated by charming junkies, glamorous pop divas, and fallen angels. With each step forward she takes in the city, she finds herself confronted by an antagonism she does not yet know how to counter. In this thrilling and yet often frightening place, each decision can have the highest of stakes, and yet she knows that only she can forge a life forward to the life she truly wants to live. This is blistering and told in an irresistible voice, illuminating the inextricable ties between gender and class, the search for identity, and the power of chosen family. Shimmering in its lyrical beauty and vivid in its realism, this is a mesmerizing story of self-realization that speaks to the outsider in all of us. I was reading some reviews of this book and every single person points out how gorgeously lyrical the writing is, and if there's one thing that's going to get you a place on my TBR, it's if someone says you wrote in a lyrical way. Like, I will be there with my pen, with my biro, like ready to underline every beautiful thing that you have said, and I will be trying to absorb the way that you see the world by osmosis. Next we have this. This is Constant Reader by Dorothy Parker. There's a foreword by Sloane Crosley, whose writing I really, really love. I read her book, Grief is for People, last year, and was just totally mesmerized by it. This is Constant Reader, and it's basically Dorothy Parker's columns from The New Yorker from 1927 to 1928. So Dorothy Parker ended up being a kind of book critic for The New Yorker and wrote this apparently very witty and kind of whimsical column. I've read Dorothy Parker's poetry and it's so fun and frivolous and silly and just dances on the page. You know, she speaks about superficial things, but with such clarity that they feel intellectual, if that makes sense. So, you know, I always have a big place for people who aren't afraid to be like, yeah, people gossip and people bitch and people have superficial desires and cravings and people behave badly, and sometimes we get obsessed with people who don't deserve our obsession, but why shouldn't we make art about those things? Because everyone goes through them. Like, these are universal, ubiquitous experiences, therefore we should make art about them. That's what her poetry does for me. And she's very, very astute, very, very switched on in those poems, so I can't wait to read her kind of essays and articles. I think this is gonna be so good. And also a little snapshot into kind of that period of literature in the 1920s. I kind of have this like romanticized view of what it would have been like to work for a magazine or a newspaper or a journal at that time and be like tapping away at your typewriter. You know, like even this image of her with her typewriter and her cigarette and her chic outfit, I'm like, oh, you're just the coolest. Next, I'm actually going on a kind of sunny holiday in a couple of days, which I'm very excited about, to get some kind of winter sun. I feel like that's gonna be healing in many ways. And I got this book by Anita Bruckner. It's called Hotel de Lac. I got this because I did a collaboration with the Booker Prize where they had this kind of installation in Waterstones in London, the biggest Waterstones, just off Piccadilly Circus. And you could basically take this quiz online where you could see what book from the Booker Prize library you should read. And then they had collected every book that has ever been nominated or won the Booker Prize that is still in print. They displayed all of them in one place, and it was such a special thing to get to go and see. But I did this collaboration with them. Can I just say one thing? Can I just say, there is nothing better about this job than getting to work with my dream brands on like my dream campaigns. Like, it's so insane, and I'm so grateful to you guys every day for making things like that happen. The fact that I get to work with the Booker Prize knocks my socks off. Like, it must be laundry day because I need some fresh socks. I can't believe that actually happened. But anyway, when I did the quiz, this is the book that I got that I'm most compatible with and should be my next read based on my reading taste. So I'm very excited about it. I think from the description, it sounds almost like kind of the White Lotus vibes. And so that's why I wanted to read it on holiday, kind of at a hotel. I thought that would just be the perfect experience to feel really immersed in what's happening in the story. A classic, a book which will be read with pleasure 100 years from now, and the winner of the Booker Prize. I'm pretty sure this was published in 1984, so yeah, 1984, so not quite 100 years, but 40, you know, it's been 40 years since then, so let's see if this has stood the test of time and see if this journalist from The Spectator was right, and I might do like a little reading vlog of that one. And I am buzzing because this month, the new series of The White Lotus comes out as well. And it's set in Thailand and it's got an amazing cast. I'm really pumped to see Amy Lee Wood do her thing because I think she is such a great actress. Her comedy timing is perfect. So I think she's so well suited to a show like The White Lotus. It's one of my favorite shows on television. I'm intrigued to see what they do without Jennifer Coolidge, without the Jennifer Coolidge of it all. But I think they're going to do something really, really special. So it's a good month. No matter what happens, it's going to be a good month because The White Lotus season 3 is coming. Next book I have is called The Anthropologists. It's by Aysegul Savas, and Brian Washington says Savas is an author who simply and astoundingly knows. I really like Brian Washington's writing. He wrote the book, The Memorial, and whenever a writer I love highly recommends a book, I'm like, okay, put it in my hands right now. My housemate and I are buddy reading this book because we wanted to read something about housemates, because we actually bought these when we moved into this apartment, but it's been like 5 months now, so we have to get around to reading this. I feel like February is the month where that happens, and it's kind of about establishing those routines and new traditions with a person that you are cohabitating with. And to me, there's something so special about having housemates. I lived alone for 2 years when I was in Paris and then my first year in New York, but then actually I ended up my second year in New York moving in with 2 friends because I got lonely. And now I have a housemate here in London, and there's something so special about those moments when you come home from like a really shit day and you just have someone there, like your bestie, to confide in. I mean, I'm so grateful to have that. And I kind of know that once we, you know, at some point in the future move out of this apartment, I will end up living alone again. So I'm really just trying to appreciate those little moments of having my best friend here in my house and for us to be sharing this space. And for it to be her house as well, you know? And I feel like this book is going to make me appreciate that even more and remind me of how special that is. Before I tell you about the next book, I just wanted to let you know that today's video is very kindly brought to you by Squarespace. And Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand. You don't need to be an expert in coding or web development because Squarespace has everything you could possibly need all in one place with these amazing templates. There's literally hundreds of them that you can choose from and customize. You can add a blog, you can have an email sign-up list, you can give your customers flexible payments, you can use AI, search engine optimization, to make sure that your website appears on search results. Truly everything you could ever need and imagine and more. That's the beauty of it. They imagined all of the things that wouldn't have even come into my head, but we do need when creating a website. And obviously with a website, you want to put your best foot forward. With Squarespace, that is guaranteed. So if that all sounds good to you, you can head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website or online brand, you can use the code JackInTheBooks at squarespace.com/JackInTheBooks to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this series. I'm always so grateful to get to work with you. And let me tell you about the next book. Then, this one is an essay collection all about vanity. So this is called Die Hot with a Vengeance, which firstly, I think 10 out of 10 name. Why did they print that so densely on the back? That's so overwhelming. I'm gonna see if there's a more concise description inside. Mostly because, guys, I wear contact lenses. I feel like I say this all the time. My contact lenses are like marbles. I'm so blind. And I broke my glasses too. So from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I have these things in my eyes. And they're not my true prescription. Like, I really should have glasses on top of the contacts, I think. So sometimes when I see text like this, like yellow printed on red, baby, I can't read that. There's certain color combinations that absolutely just don't compute to my eyes, and yellow on red is absolutely one of them, it turns out. Luckily, we have some white on red here as well. The beauty industry has a single mandate: be hot. Yet in the same week that you might be encouraged to try trends like curtain bangs, contouring, and non-invasive facelifts, brands push mantras about self-care and body positivity, and then tell you that you're beautiful just as you are. How could that not be confusing? So I guess it's about how capitalism taps into our insecurities. I will say I think a lot of this probably doesn't apply to me because I don't wear makeup, but I do use skincare, and there are a lot of products that I do use and that are sold to me because of essentially insecurity. So I thought this collection would be great for me to read. Also, a book does not have to apply to you for you to find it interesting. I think that this will be full of loads of wisdom and insights that will inform my worldview and also improve my media literacy, I suppose, as well when it comes to brands and the things that are being advertised to me and to us. So I wanted to read that and hopefully die hot with a vengeance. And finally, I have to take a deep breath before I talk about this one because I can't believe I'm holding it. This is the new Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie book, and it's actually, I have this little signed postcard inside. Oh, like, that is insane. There were 150 copies of this printed, and I have the number 112. And, you know, I will take this to my grave. I'm so grateful to have a copy of this and so desperate to read it. I have loved Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's writing since I read Americana, but also her lectures like We Should All Be Feminists, etc., etc. She is a powerhouse, and this is the description of her new book. So it's called Dream Count, and it's about a character called Chiamaka, who is a Nigerian travel writer living in America. Alone in the midst of a pandemic, she recalls her past lovers and grapples with her choices and regrets. Zikora, her best friend, is a lawyer who has been successful at everything until, betrayed and brokenhearted, she must turn to the person she thought she needed least. This person is Chiamaka's bold, outspoken cousin, who is a financial powerhouse in Nigeria, who begins to question how well she knows herself. There's so many characters being introduced just in this blurb, but there's also the housekeeper, who is proudly raising her daughter in America, but faces an unthinkable hardship that threatens all she has worked to achieve. So maybe we're gonna get kind of different perspectives. Yeah, it looks like we are. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so we have different characters that kind of narrate different sections. I think that will be so gorgeous. A publishing event 10 years in the making, a searing new novel by the best-selling and award-winning author of 4 women and their loves, longings, and desires. Yes! I'm so happy! Okay, so that is my February reading list. I hope that it's kind of like gonna take me mid-February to mid-March, I would say. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. I hope that February is treating you very well. If you made the New Year's resolution of wanting to read more in 2025, take this as your sign to pick up a book, maybe one of these ones, and we can all discuss it together. Love you all to the moon and back. Have the most wonderful day. Bye-bye!